Here's what I've watched happen. The Gumiho didn't disappear. She just changed where she lives. She left the old stories and walked into films, television dramas, webtoons, animation, games. Not one version, many. So, what does that actually look like? A Korean drama asked a different kind of question. What if the Gumiho wasn't something to fear, but someone to fall for? My girlfriend is a Gumiho gave her a name, a face, a personality. She was clumsy, curious, completely herself. And audiences fell for her. Not despite what she was, because of it. And it's not always a she. Tale of the Nine-Tailed broke that tradition entirely. A Gumiho who was a man, who had lived so long. He had forgotten what it felt like to want anything. That shift carried forward. My roommate is a Gumiho. First a webtoon, then a drama. Gave us another male Gumiho. 999 years old. 1 year away from finally becoming human. And then there's Aria, a character in one of the most played games in the world, League of Legends. Millions of players across every continent have chosen to play as a nine-tailed fox without ever having heard the word Gumiho. In one story, she's dangerous. In another, misunderstood. In another, she's the one in control. Different tones, different roles, but you still recognize her. That consistency across completely different stories, that's not accidental. That's how I know she's still here. Because in the original stories, the structure never changed. She hides, she imitates, she is discovered, and then she is removed, killed, banished, erased. The story restores order by eliminating her. That was always the function. But modern versions don't follow that anymore. Now, she remains. She exists alongside humans, forms relationships with them, and the story continues without resolving her existence. That alone would never have been allowed before. There's something else I've noticed. She is no longer defined by becoming human. In older stories, that was the only path. Become human or be destroyed. Now, it's a choice. Some versions still follow that path, others don't. And she is no longer punished for remaining what she is. That is not a small thing. The Gumiho used to be a problem the story had to solve. Now, she is the perspective the story follows. And once the narrative moves to her side, the question changes. Not, how do we remove her? But, how does she exist among us? I've watched stories do this for a long time. The ones that last are never the ones that demand a single answer. She was always ambiguous, human, but not fully, dangerous, but not entirely, desired and feared at the same time. That complexity used to make people uncomfortable. Now, they call it depth. And so she keeps appearing, not as a fixed symbol, but as a flexible one. Adaptable, reusable, still recognizable, but never identical. She changes as the stories change. The stories change as the people telling them change. So the question is no longer whether she still exists. The question is how she continues to exist within the present and what that allows her to become. Let's go back to where we started. What did she want? Not a liver. Not a man. Not even in the end a human body. She wanted to be seen. Not feared, not hunted, not pitied. Just seen. The world didn't give her that. And because it feared what it couldn't name, it made her into something that made sense. A name is just a mirror, held up to whoever is doing the naming. I have watched this story, told more times than I can count. I have watched her hunted, feared, desired, destroyed, and remade again and again. Every time she comes back, not because the stories preserved her, but because something in us refuses to let her go. Maybe that says more about us than it does about her. She's still out there, I think, waiting to see if anything has changed. Has it? And I wonder, she isn't the only one, is she? Every culture has something that lives in the in-between. You know the one I mean. What do they call her? Where you come from. More stories are waiting. If you're still listening.
I am Aria, hear my call. Aria, hear my call. Whispers rising, shadows fall. Shadows fall. Old soul stories carved in scars under silence.